Hello there guys, welcome back to the channel and to another video. Today we'll be talking about digital art, about 5 pro tips for all beginner digital artists. So let's jump right into it. Now, digital art can seem easy at the first glance, considering the fact that you have such a multitude of tools and functionalities at your fingertips, and most of it is almost always bundled into a single software, such as Krita, for example, an open source raster graphics drawing tool. It is a software which has almost all the types of brushes which traditional artists use, and you have all of this in a single package. Just create a canvas and start drawing. But sometimes this whole multitude of tools can seem overwhelming. How to use all of it, how to get about knowing what function each one of them serves, and how exactly are you going to master them? Well, today's 5 tips are going to take you a bit closer, especially if you are a beginner digital artist. Now, hang on for a second. These tips will seem very simple in the beginning, but let me tell you, if you keep practicing these, if you make these an integral part of your workflow, you are on the path to success. Number 1, reference images. Okay, this is a point which I keep on repeating time and again. But why is it so important? Why is it so important to have a good reference image for your artwork? Well, let me give you a scenario. You have this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be photographed, to have your own photo shoot by the world-class professional photographer. What are you going to choose? Are you going to choose a dark and gloomy atmosphere for your photographs to be taken, or are you going to choose a bright and beautiful set as your background? Well, I think for most of the people it is going to be the latter. The one where the backdrop is beautiful, the one where the lighting is just perfect and it shows up your actual qualities, your actual characteristics, the things which you want to be captured and crystallized into that photograph. Now, what exactly would you want for your artwork then? It is pretty much the same thing. This is applicable to pretty much everything, because all the images you look at are getting fed into your brain. You are training your brain, your visual library is expanding, and you're keeping all these things in mind which you will draw later. So let's take, for example, a kettle. Actually knowing how a kettle looks in real life will help you represent it in the best possible manner in your illustration. So always keep in mind, to train your visual library, to expand your visual library, you need good reference images. If you're going to draw something based on a reference image, keep in mind that your reference image should be a good enough definition. It should have good enough clarity and preserve all the characteristics which you want to portray in your illustration. Point number 2, working in layers. Now, this is something which almost all beginner digital artists will forget to do. They will just draw everything into a single layer and erase something and then only come to know, oh my god, I have not put this on a separate layer. I don't have this specific stroke, this specific line on a separate layer. So if I'm erasing something, it is actually erasing everything that I have drawn. So let's take, for example, watercolors here. I'm comparing this with traditional art. So what are you exactly doing? You are painting a base layer, you are letting it dry, then you are drawing a bit of the darker tones, again letting it dry, then again drawing the darker tones while leaving the highlights behind. This is pretty much what you need to do in digital artworks too. You can have a base layer which comprises of all your flat colors. Then you can start shading, you can start blending, you can start adding highlights or the dark tones by adding different types of layers. Now, making these multiple layers doesn't mean that you will go about creating hundreds of layers in your artwork and just make a mess out of it and not understand where everything is. Instead, you should group layers, or you can merge layers which you are no longer using separately into a single layer. Point number 3, don't overdo the undo button. The undo shortcut, oh my goodness, it is such a boon for all digital artists. You made a mistake with a line, Ctrl Z. You made a mistake with some coloring stroke, Ctrl Z. god, it is magic. But like it is always said, with great power comes great responsibility. So keep in mind that you should lessen the use of this undo a bit. Imagine you are drawing with ballpoint pens, a thing which I love doing and I started a while back. If you're drawing with inks, if you're drawing with ballpoint pens, with brush pens, you don't have the option to go back if you make a mistake. Yes, you can always whip out that white pigment and cover it, but it looks bad when you use those white pigments, when you use those cover-ups. So what it teaches you is to be precise with your strokes, with your line work. And that is what I want to be carried over into digital art as well. You need to be more precise. You need to keep learning as you're drawing. Just for the fact that you have the undo button doesn't really mean that you will keep using it. You will keep spamming the oh so attractive Control Z shortcut. Don't keep doing that, because the more you do that, the lesser is your practice, the actual amount of practice which you're getting with each artwork. And remember, the lesser you are practicing, the lesser are the chances that you'll get better at something. Zoom out a bit, make bigger strokes, zoom in a bit and draw the details. It is not that difficult. Yes, undoing a lot will be very tempting in the beginning, and it will look like, oh my god, if I make a mistake, I'll just do Ctrl+Z. You will increase the number of steps, in fact, which are there in undo from 5 to 10 or even 15 maybe, but that doesn't really develop your skill that much. You can look at Sam Does Art's No Undo Challenge, where he creates these amazing artworks without the use of the Ctrl+Z shortcut. And let me tell you, he is a master at it, and so can you be. So don't use that undo button. I mean, don't overuse that undo button, and you will be on your path to success. Point number 4, using the mirror function. Now, nature loves symmetry and nature tends towards symmetry quite a lot. And what you need to do in your artworks to make your artworks look beautiful, especially with the shots or the angles which you're drawing head on, is you want to make them as symmetrical as possible. Not completely symmetrical, but as symmetrical as you can get. Because if you look at it head on, even the human face is not symmetrical. The two halves of your face look a bit different from each other, and you don't want to snatch that away from your artworks. So don't use the symmetry tool which draws the same thing on one side as you draw on the other, but use the mirror function. Reverse the image and see if you're making it symmetrical such that it is not tilted towards one side. And finally, coming to the final point, point number 5. This will seem silly in the beginning, but let me tell you, you will suffer if you don't do it. And that is using the save function. Now, as much as I like saying to use the Ctrl+Z function less, what I also love saying is you need to fall in love. You need to almost create a relationship with the Ctrl+S shortcut, because if you're not saving your artwork enough number of times, there is a good possibility that you haven't had autosave on for a particular time, and there is a power outage or your laptop battery runs out and you don't have any more artwork to go back to. And that, my friends, is painful. I have experienced it quite a number of times where I forgot to turn on autosave, or maybe I was trying out some new software and I was well delved into that artwork that I forgot to save, and boom, it's gone. So don't forget to save your artwork intermittently, because all this effort that you are putting in, if it would have been a traditional artwork, it would have not gone anywhere. But in case of digital artworks, you need to remember to save it intermittently and have your autosave turned on so that you don't lose out on any of your data. Now, this also creates sort of a discipline in you, a discipline which is very much required in the future if you want to become a good digital artist. Handling your files responsibly, handling all your assets responsibly in the digital format is also very important. So don't forget to organize everything in folders and keep backups if you really value your hard work. Okay, so with that, we have reached the end of this video. Now, these 5 pro tips for beginners is not the only 5 tips which I'm going to give you. This is just the start of a series of many more tips, many more hacks to come. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to share this video with a friend who you think will benefit from it. Be creative, be positive, and practice a lot. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, peace.